and good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching News at 10. Our headlines tonight. KSN to discuss with MOF on implementation of additional annual salary increment. Malaysia's economic growth projection for 2022 can be achieved. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob today announced several good news for civil servants, including an additional RM100 in their annual salary increment (KGT) and special financial assistance (BKK) of RM700 for 2023. He said the additional KGT of RM100 is for civil servants from grade 11 to 56 and will be paid from January 2023, involving a total of 1.28 million recipients and a financial implication of RM1.5 bilion.
Sebagai contoh, sebelum ini kadar KGT bagi grade 11 adalah RM80, maka pada tahun 2023 beliau akan menerima kadar KGT asas sebanyak RM100, menjadikan jumlah KGT diterima pada tahun 2023 adalah sebanyak RM180.
He also announced the BKK of RM700 for civil servants grade 56 and below, as well as RM350 for government pensioners and non-pensionable veterans, which also will be paid in January 2023. Datuk Seri Ismail announced these at the 18th Civil Service Premier Message Gathering (MAPA), attended physically by 4,000 civil servants and thousands of others online this morning. MAPA is the annual event where the Prime Minister delivers his message to civil servants from various public and civil services at the federal and state levels, as well as local governments and government-linked companies. The Prime Minister also announced an additional 5 days of special annual leave, bringing the total to 15 for education service officers who have served for more than 10 years. He said this will benefit approximately 500,000 teachers who can use it for emergency or urgent matters or just save it for a higher GCR cash award. Also announced was the expansion of the definition of family members for unrecorded leave facility involving the death of close family members.
Jika sebelum ini cuti tanpa rekod bagi urusan kematian hanya tertakluk kepada kematian suami dan isteri, ibu kandung dan bapa mertua, bapa kandung dan bapa mertua serta anak saja, penambahbaikan tafsiran ahli keluarga diperluas kepada kematian yang melibatkan adik-beradik, nenek dan datuk bagi anggota perkhidmatan awam.
He also announced the improvement made to the annual salary movement for officers who have reached their maximum salary. In his message, the Prime Minister also thanked all civil servants who had always strived to ensure that government machinery is working effectively to implement all policies and ensure the success of each aspiration of the government. Chief Secretary to the Government Tan Sri Mohamad Zuki Alim will discuss with the Finance Ministry on the implementation of the additional annual salary increment KGT of RM100 for civil servants. He said this was to determine whether it will be applicable for the coming years or only in 2023.
Dia akan ada kekekalan. Cuma saya nak kena semak dengan Kementerian Kewangan sama ada dia berbentuk kenaikan tahunan ataupun hanya untuk tahun ini saja. Itu kita akan teliti balik dengan Kementerian Kewangan.
Meanwhile, Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki said the study of the public service remuneration system conducted by the Public Service Department JPA is in the final stage and the findings are expected to be announced soon. He added that the government has also decided that JPA should look into how to transform the civil service.
Dan saya rasa benda ini kita dah bentang dalam beberapa kali mesyuarat jawatankuasa kabinet mengenai perkara ini. Dan saya rasa bila dah ada final nanti kita akan umumkanlah.
Earlier at the MAPA 18 gathering, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the government agreed that PSD should speed up study on the remuneration system by taking into account the overall aspects of human capital development, remuneration and services to be relevant with the current situation and government's financial capability. Social solidarity, national integration and racial unity are keys to national harmony, prosperity and well-being. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah said today they were also the keys to gaining strength to face any challenges ahead in accordance with this year's National Day theme, Keluarga Malaysia, Teguh Bersama. In a statement today, Comptroller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara Datuk Seri Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin said, His Majesty said it's also a shared responsibility to all to not only preserve and protect national harmony that the nation has enjoyed so far, but also to nurture it among Keluarga Malaysia. Sultan Abdullah reminded the people to beware of the wolves in sheep's clothing who were also capable of causing disunity among the people and shaking the country's stability through their lies and seditious remarks statements which contravene the principles of Rukun Negara, the ultimate key to racial harmony and unity. Sultan Abdullah also encouraged the people to commemorate and appreciate the deeds and contributions of the patriots and freedom fighters as well as the security forces personnel who freed the country from the grip of colonialism and foreign enemies. Coming up next, tabling budget can be considered if permitted by constitution and law.
Perbarisan dan Perarakan Hari Kebangsaan 2022 31 Ogos 2022 Rabu bermula pukul 7 pagi bertempat di Dataran Merdeka Kuala Lumpur. Orang ramai dijemput hadir.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob is confident that the country's economic growth projection of between 5.3% and 6.3% this year can be achieved. Speaking at the 18th Civil Service Premier Message Gathering, MAPA 18 in Putrajaya today, the Prime Minister said the country's post-COVID-19 economic recovery momentum is also expected to continue to persist until the end of this year.
Namun begitu, kematangan Kerajaan Keluarga Malaysia dan keberkesanan jentera pentadbiran kerajaan melalui pendekatan kolaboratif mindset, kita dapat memberi fokus untuk memacu semula pemulihan ekonomi negara dengan pantas dan berkesan. Keputusan kerajaan untuk membuka semula sektor ekonomi secara keseluruhan dan pembukaan sempadan antarabangsa antara tindakan yang paling tepat untuk melonjakkan kembali kitaran ekonomi.
As a result, the Premier said the Malaysian economy has recorded an encouraging performance when the gross domestic product GDP for the second quarter of 2022 recorded a growth of 8.9%, the best in Southeast Asia. Malaysia's wholesale and retail trade also recorded a steady growth year-on-year of 44% to RM132.8 billion in June this year. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also noted that he is ready to consider tabling the Budget 2023 if it is permitted by the Constitution and the law. However, he said he would wait for the advice of Attorney General Tan Sri Idris Harun regarding the matter and added that he cannot do it if it's against the law.
Sekarang ni Menteri Kewangan lah present macam biasa.
Are you considering Dato' Sri to break the convention?
Kita kena tengok dari segi perlembagaan, dari segi perundangan. Kalau tak boleh lah.
On 27th August, Perikatan Nasional Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin reportedly said that the Prime Minister may table Budget 2023. A day before, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said that the tabling of the Supply Budget Bill 2023 in the Dewan Rakyat had been brought forward to 7th October during the third meeting of the 5th session of the 14th Parliament. The Sawit oil palm seed testing service, which can be used as a mechanism for seed certification by small holdings on oil palm plantations, is able to generate up to 4.3 billion ringgit in additional economic output annually across the industry. Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Dato' Zuraida Kamaruddin said this would translate into a substantial increase in profits for palm oil players and, importantly, further improving the sustainability of the Malaysian palm oil industry. Utilised at the earlier stage of the seed production process, the testing enables batch-by-batch DNA certification of high-performing and ultra-high purity DXP Tenera seeds. The technology was jointly developed by Orion Bioscience and the Malaysian Palm Oil Board MPOB.
Dengan adanya ciptaan ini, ianya akan dapat meningkatkan produktiviti buah sawit itu sendiri. Buah sawit itu akan memberikan minyak yang menghasilkan minyak yang lebih berkualiti tinggi, dan bila berkualiti tinggi maknanya boleh dapat harga yang lebih baik, okey. Dan juga dia juga akan menghasilkan kualiti yang baik dan juga kuantiti yang lebih banyak daripada perahan buah-buah sawit yang mereka cipta. Jadi buah sawit yang mereka nak cipta adalah dinamakan Tenera.
She said this during the official launch of Sure Sawit at Orion Bioscience in Berhad Testing Laboratory in Puchong today. MPOB has conducted extensive research decoding and analysing the palm oil genome since 2004, which laid the groundwork for the discoveries underpinning Sure Sawit services. Meanwhile, in the spirit of Malaysia's 65th Merdeka Day celebration, MPIC has produced a 3-minute video clip entitled "The Land is Our." The video clip depicts the toiling by a smallholder family on a piece of vacant land to cultivate oil palm crop. According to Datuk Zuraida, the production of the video is timely to showcase the world and especially to serve as an eye-opener to countries that are practicing sanctions against palm oil. Malaysia has over 461,000 smallholders and another 1.8 million people who are generally surviving on income generated from the palm oil trade. Published by the Global Movement to Champion the Goodness of Palm Oil, the video clip is intended to portray the very fact that MPIC upholds the said UN Declaration and defends the rights of every landowner to farm for a living. Malaysia, she said, is determined to foster a cordial engagement with the EU and the US in search of a win-win solution that can benefit the palm oil industry at large. She also called on all Malaysians to stand up and fight with the government to defend the country's main commodity with the spirit of Keluarga Malaysia Teguh Bersama. Telecommunications companies telcos that will provide 5th-generation 5G services in Malaysia have started technical tests related to their implementation. Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC Chief Operating Officer Datuk Muhammad Ali Hanafiah Muhammad Yunus said technical tests are currently at phase 4 of 5 phases in total, with a final phase includes aspect of determining the package.
Kita nampak ini satu perkembangan yang positif dan kemungkinan besar pada bulan 9 inilah kita nampak yang perkhidmatan 5G ini akan mula ditawarkan oleh pemberi perkhidmatan yang lain.
Dato' Muhammad Ali was commenting on the development of Digital Nasional Berhad's DNB Equity Stake Agreement with the telcos. He had earlier witnessed the signing of the Digital Society Research Grant DSRG collaboration document here today between the MCMC, University Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia Board of Technologists and Malaysian Nuclear Agency in efforts to realise the development of digital talent and empowerment of digital economy. Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas today announced an additional 25 billion ringgit dividend payment to the government, bringing a total dividend payout of 50 billion ringgit for 2022. President and Group Chief Executive Officer Datuk Tengku Muhammad Taufik Tengku Aziz said the new dividend was in addition of the 25 billion ringgit dividend that had been approved in February 2022.
The original approved dividend was 25. Having considered the government's request, this was what the board had approved to be affordable, having accounted for our spend, our debt obligations, our operational continuity.
Speaking to reporters after announcing the group's half-year financial performance ended 30th June this year in Kuala Lumpur today, Datuk Tengku Muhammad Taufik said the group remained committed to accelerate its proof investments as it needs to future-proof its operation towards energy transition. He said a total dividend payout of 50 billion ringgit in 2022 was one of the highest payment made by the group, following a total payment of 54 billion ringgit in 2019. Still ahead, Iraq protesters start to withdraw after Sadar demands end. Supporters of Iraq's powerful cleric Muqtada Sadar started to withdraw from Baghdad's Green Zone after he urged them to end a protest following violence that killed at least 23 of them. Sadar gave followers 60 minutes to withdraw from the high-security Green Zone, after which he would threaten to disavow those who remain. Moments after Sadar's speech broadcast live on television, his supporters were seen beginning to leave the Green Zone, and minutes after that, the army lifted a nationwide curfew imposed since violence erupted on Monday. Tensions have soared in Iraq amid a political crisis that has left the country without a new government, prime minister or president for months. They escalated sharply after Sadar's supporters on Monday afternoon stormed the government palace inside the Green Zone following the leader's announcement that he was quitting politics. Sadar, a grey-beard preacher with millions of devoted followers, announced his definitive retirement and said he had decided not to meddle in political affairs. Overnight Monday and on Tuesday morning, clashes raged between Sadar's supporters and the army and men of the Hashd al-Sha'abi, former Tehran-backed paramilitaries integrated into the Iraqi forces. On Tuesday morning, medics updated the toll of Sadar's supporters killed to 23, with some 380 others injured, some with bullet wounds and others suffering tear gas inhalation. The United Nations issued a flash appeal for $160 million to help Pakistan cope with catastrophic floods that have killed more than 1,100 people, destroyed infrastructure and crops, and affected 33 million people. The Pakistani government has said early estimates put the damage from the floods at more than $10 billion, adding that the world had an obligation to help the South Asian country cope with the effects of man-made climate change. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the scale of needs in Pakistan, with millions of people forced from their homes, schools and health facilities destroyed and livelihoods shattered by the climate catastrophe, required the world's collective and prioritized attention. Torrential rain has triggered flash floods that have crashed down from northern mountains, destroying buildings and bridges and washing away roads and crops. Huge volumes of water are pouring into the Indus River, which flows down in the middle of the country from its northern peaks to southern plains, bringing flooding along its length. Guterres said the $160 million he hoped to raise with the appeal would provide 5.2 million people with food, water, sanitation, emergency education and health support. Pakistan estimates the floods have affected more than 33 million people, or more than 50% of its 220 million population. Guterres appealed for a speedy response to Pakistan's request to the international community for help. Germany and France have issued a joint warning against a ban on tourist visas for Russians, saying such a step advocated by other European Union member states would be counterproductive. The split on tourist visas will be at the heart of a meeting of the bloc's foreign minister in Prague on Tuesday and Wednesday as they discuss what further steps they can take to sanction Russia for its 6-month-old invasion in Ukraine. The Kremlin said the calls for a visa ban on Russia tourists were the latest example of the West's anti-Russian agenda. The EU's two leading countries, Germany and France, argued for close scrutiny of Russia visa application for security risks, but believe visas should still be issued. Others, in particular Eastern and Nordic member states, have argued strongly for a ban. An EU diplomat said the foreign minister might agree in principle to suspend a visa facilitation agreement with Russia, which would mean Russians face a longer procedure and pay €80 instead of 35 for EU visas. The divisions over tourism visa bans, however, are too deep for any agreement on that. Lithuania Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis said last week that Russians mostly enter the EU via the land borders of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland and Finland, adding that these countries may act on their own if the EU does not agree on a union-wide ban. Coming up in sports, Berita RTM kick off their Japan Open campaign by crushing world number 2 pair. All right, national doubles Perlitan Tina opened their Japan Open campaign in superb style by edging the South Korea Lee So-hee Shin Sun-chand, the world number 2 pair, in a match that went the distance at Maruzen Intact Arena in Osaka, Japan. Perlitan Tina, who lost to Japan's 5th seeds in the 3rd round of the World Championships in Tokyo last week, beat the South Koreans 16-21, 21-14 and 21-18 in 3 games. The Commonwealth Games gold medal winning pair, ranked 11th in the world now, moved into the 2nd round of the competition with the win. Another Malaysian pair, Vivian Hu Lim Chiu Sien, also moved into the 2nd round after beating Germany's Linda Effler Isabel Leho 21-17, 23-21. In the mixed doubles competition, Cheng Tang-ji, Pek Yen-wei lost to Ho Pang-ron, Teo Yi-wei 21-23, 24-22 and 21-17 in all-Malaysian encounter. 2 other pairs were also shown the exit in the men's doubles and women's doubles competition when Goh Tze Fei Nur Izzuddin Rumsani lost their men's doubles match to Muhammad Shohibul Bagas Maulana 17-21, 21-18, 19-21 in 3 games, while Anna Ching Yi Cheong, Teo Mei Sing were beaten by China's Liu Xuan Xuan, Xia Yuting 21-9, 21-14 in the women's doubles. The Terengganu shooting squad is targeting to bring home 2 gold medals in the 20th Malaysia Games Sukma that will be held in Kuala Lumpur from 16 to 24th September. Head coach Nazihan Harun said the squad was confident of meeting the target through the men's team 25-meter sport pistol and mixed team 10-meter air rifle events. However, he said the target was lower than the achievement at the 2018 Sukma in Perak due to several factors, especially training constraints. He said the state will be counting on Nur Rifki Ansarullah Iu Abdullah, Nik Muhammad Lukman Nik Omar and Muhammad Naufal Muhammad Nasir to win gold in a men's team 25-meter sport pistol event. As for the mixed team 10-meter air rifle event, Terengganu will be represented by senior shooters Ahmad Azim Aizuddin Muhammad Rafi and Nur Akasha Damia Abdullah. Nazihan said the shooting squad is also targeting a podium finish in several other events, such as men's 25-meter standard pistol and men's and women's individual 25-meter sport pistol events. He said in total, the team would send 25 athletes, namely 14 men and 11 women, to compete in 14 events. Meanwhile, Ahmad Azim Aizuddin said he was determined to give his best performance and win a gold medal in his last appearance at Sukma this year and defeat 2 closest challengers, Pahang and Perak. Johor Darul Takzim JDT continue to roll the roost in the Super League after trouncing Melaka United FC 4-0 at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. It was clear from the start that JDT, who were thrashed 5-0 by Urawa Red Diamonds at the Saitama 2002 Stadium in Japan, en route to crashing out in the round of 16 of the AFC Champions League on 19 August, were looking to unleash their frustrations. And it was Melaka United who were on the receiving end as JDT, who are coached by Hector Bidoglio, got their goals through Fernando Martin Forestieri in the 13th minute and Buxton Gustavo Silveira da Silva at the 32nd, 42nd and 85th minute. With this easy win, the 8-time champions remain atop the 12 teams standing with 41 points after 15 matches, while Melaka United are 8th with 17 points, also from 15 matches. Also with 7 matches remaining, Buxton da Silva leads the scorers chart and is the favourite to win the Golden Boot Award. On to tennis. Serena Williams signals she's not quite ready for retirement, advancing to the second round of the US Open on Monday with a scrappy 6-3, 6-3 win over Danka Kovinic. The victory over the 80th ranked Kovinic, just her second this year, will be a confidence boost for Williams, but the path to a record-equalling 24th Grand Slam now gets treacherous. Having been now in charge, Williams would not let it slip away in the second set, breaking to go up 3-2, and with match point and the crowd on its feet, she danced in delight as Kovinic's return hit the net. Meanwhile, Colombian Daniel Galán upset 4th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas in the first round of the US Open with a 6-love, 6-1, 3-6, 7-5 victory. Tsitsipas lost the first 11 games of the contest before getting on the board, and though he mounted a comeback in the third set, his error count proved to be his downfalls as Galán prevailed on his 9th match point. Next, Australian Nikirgios, Russian Ludmila Samsonova. Alright, so that's it from us this evening. In our top story, KSN to discuss with MOF on implementation of additional annual salary increment. Join us for updates at noon at 12:30 tomorrow. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Thank you for watching.